Okay, so good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the next of our PA Forum virtual series. I am delighted today to be joined by the wonderful Pauline Beattie from Conference Care and also Justine Meek from Warwick Conferences. We're still staying with our topic of CSR and sustainability and also events. And Pauline will be talking to us today about the brand new carbon consultancy that Conference Care are supporting their clients with, and hopefully can give you some more information about how they could potentially support you going forward. Justine is also here to talk to us about substantial research that Warwick University did over the past couple of years with regards to return on investment for events, which we were saying before the call, sometimes we're asked to organise an event just for the sake of having an event, but actually, are we getting a return on investment for it? So it'll be really interesting to hear from you, Justine, a little bit later on as well. So without further ado, I'd just like to welcome Pauline. So thanks for joining us today, Pauline.
Thank you, thanks, and thanks for such a great build-up. It's lovely to see you all today, and thank you very much for having me, Dan, and very much appreciate the opportunity to be talking to you today about carbon consultancy. As Dan said, please do feel free to pop anything into the chat box as we go along, and hopefully we'll have some time for some questions and answers at the end of things. I'm going to share my screen with you so that we can get started, and hopefully you'll enjoy what I've got to talk to you about today. It's something, as Dan says, that I'm particularly passionate about. I'd really talk forever about all things sustainability if I could, but I will try not to go on about it for too long. Let's talk about carbon consultancy and why we've created carbon consultancy. As you say, it's very much of the moment. It's something that we find that customers are talking to us about. It's in the news everywhere, and it's something that I don't think will go away. There's an expectation that it's been around before and it died off, but I don't think it's going to disappear again. I think sustainability is firmly going to be in our decision-making processes going forward. And for those of you that aren't aware of Conference Care have been committed to sustainability for some time. Our key focus in our business is to look at venue sourcing, to look at digital events, and organising any manner of live event, but carbon consultancy is new to us, and it just seems like it's the perfect fit. So I'm going to talk to you today about why it came about. I'm going to give you a little bit of more background about carbon neutral events and how that all comes together and the key components that are in there. I'm going to run you through what carbon consultancy actually is, and tell you how it all operates, just give you an overview of how it's priced out to the market, and then touch a little bit on that mythical subject of carbon offsetting, which I find is quite intriguing. Carbon consultancy. We are very much, as a business, our why is all about being different, inspiring people, innovating, creating change, and helping people to reach their goals. So it makes sense for us that we come up with innovative ideas and solutions. And we've been doing that in our venue finding and event management for years, but we felt that we needed to do that a little bit more, and that's where carbon consultancy came from. So, as I say, sustainability isn't new to us. We've been, more than 10 years, we've been carbon neutral, and it's always been at the heart of particularly Chris's hearts and minds, if you like. He's always been very, very passionate about sustainability. We felt that there was a lot of greenwashing around. You've probably heard that term. We felt there was a lot of talk about it about 18 months ago, but maybe not enough action. And we really thought that it was important to actually do more. So create that awareness and start bringing forward ideas. And to start with, what we did was we created our own internal sustainability team, Planet. And just as we were talking before, looked at some key pledges in there, because sustainability has to be something that everybody believes in. Everybody in our business has to feel that it's important to them and understand what it's all about. So the 4 pledges that we looked at are around our company. So what we can do to be better, because although we're carbon neutral, there's still offsetting in there. So how can we actually reduce our carbon footprint? And we've done a lot of great things, simple things, but we've made sure that we enforce a single-use plastic policy. We started looking at all of our processes and how we can do those better. And there's some really nice initiatives in there making change. We've looked at our community. For a very long time, we've had a partnership with Zoe's Place, and supported them both in fundraising and helping to run their events. But we wanted to do more to what's local and what's around us. And you'll probably know our head office is in Hinckley, so we're keen to look at what we could do there. So we went out to our wider team and asked, what's important to you? What do you want to support? For anybody that knows us, you probably know that we're a family of dog lovers. We are particularly keen on our pooches, so it was no surprise that one of us actually suggested Angel Small Paws, because my colleague Maria had actually fostered and adopted a dog from Angel Small Paws. So we've brought those on as a local charity that we can support, and we've done some fundraising and some great team building ourselves, particularly over COVID, where we've been able to come together and do things virtually to support Angel Small Paws. The other thing that we've looked at is our customer. How can we better help our customers to understand sustainability, to just even think about sustainability, because everyone's on the journey, as we keep talking about, everyone's on the journey to net zero, but some people are still very much at the beginning of the journey. So how can we start to educate there? And that's partly where Carbon Consultancy came out of. But some of the little changes in there are things like our proposals now. All of our venue proposals will show you accreditations. So if a venue partner is part of green tourism, or part of EcoSmart, that will be displayed instantly. So from the moment that you start considering venues, you can consider how important is it to them? Do they align with who we are as a business? And then on a wider basis, we've looked at our citizenship and what can we do to help inform the industry? We all think about events as glamorous and sexy and fun, and they are, they're great, they're amazing, but they have been pretty wasteful in the past. So how can we help the industry to think about sustainability and do things differently? So Planet was something that's been a great success to us, and it's something we're all particularly passionate about. And out of that is where Carbon Consultancy has been born from. So to give you a sense of how important it is to think about carbon neutral events and what some context around it, I guess. The whole, as you'll know, everything that we do has got a carbon output, absolutely everything that we do. It's important, I think, as we get back to going to live and physical events again, that we help people to understand that that's still possible, that we should still do that, and not just rely on this virtual world that we're into, because I think although COVID has been amazing in terms of the planet and it's helped a lot of regeneration, equally, I believe that we've all missed human interaction and we all desperately want to get back together again and to be together and to get that buzz from events. So we have to think about sustainable choices to doing that. And that's where it's important to think about how do we just reduce our footprint, or how do we do things differently and change mindsets. As I keep sort of saying to people, it's okay to actually be thinking that the buffet will run out. Why won't it run out? Why would you over cater? Why would you automatically have 20 to 30% wastage just because there's a choice? We just have to change mindsets that little bit. In terms of the context, you'll probably have read, if you're a bit of a green geek like me, that our average footprint as a sort of regular human is around 13 tons of carbon. That's an annual output, 13 tons. So 1 ton of carbon is equivalent to 1 flight from Paris to New York. I'm trying to just give you a bit of a sense of what it's all about. And if we're going to try and get to that reduction in climate change, so to remove this 2-3 degrees that we're talking about, our footprint actually needs to be about 3 tons. So that's a phenomenal change that we individually need to make. And if I bring that into the world of events, an average event in the UK currently is about 20 tons. So that again means that there's quite a lot of work to do to reduce that and make sure again that we're making sustainable choices. So when you consider a carbon neutral event, when you're trying to make those reductions and then potentially think about offsetting the balance, the main things that will be involved in the sort of footprint are travel. And that's the biggie. That's always going to take up maybe up to 60% of the footprint. And then there's the hospitality, there's the catering, and how the event space is powered. And they will all contribute into giving you that output in terms of the carbon. Lots of you are probably in environments where you've got a goal, your business is starting to make a plan or already has a goal in place. UK government has the goal of 2050 for carbon neutral, for net zero, and lots of other businesses or areas, cities are actually working to even lower sort of targets in terms of 2030 and 2045. And so carbon consultancy can help to align with that, because everybody, as I say, is somewhere in the journey to net zero, if you like. Most of the time we find that organisations have started to think about travel. So if there is a TMC in place, there is a level of measuring and monitoring the offset for travel. And that's great. That fits really, really well from our perspective, because carbon consultancy sits alongside that and says, you can do exactly the same for meetings and events programs. So we can align what you're doing with your goals to carbon consultancy and try and help to tie in there. Generally, we find goals are around good citizenship. So it is about reducing carbon in the first place. And then it's starting to think about what can we do with the changes that we put in place across our business. And if need be, do we offset at the very end of it? And carbon consultancy does all of that for you, which is why we're so excited about it all. So let me tell you how it actually works. Here's the nitty gritty of it all. You'll have heard this lovely term greenwashing. There's a lot of greenwashing around. There's a lot of things out there saying, oh, it's carbon neutral, oh, it's this and it's that. I would say carbon consultancy is very, very detailed and is pretty much unique in the way that it's working. There are some free calculators out there that would give you a quick view of what you can, what your footprint might be, what your impact is. And there are some marketing things out there about venues saying, oh, we offer carbon neutral events and so on. But the reality is it's not the detail. And it's the detail that really is the bit that has to all come together. So you've got this genuine footprint. So what we would do is sit down with you and talk about your event just to understand all the key components, all the key elements that's in there. So where your delegates are coming from, which venues are in use, and how that all sort of flows in terms of your running order. And that part of it is just that sort of scoping out, so we've got our head around it. We don't have to be involved with you in any other way. Carbon consultancy is a standalone service, so you can come to us and just say, I just want you to work with us for carbon consultancy, and that's exactly what we'll do. When we talk through the pre-event scoping meeting, we understand from you how we're going to collect the data. So generally, the data is going to come from you as the organiser. You're going to have the majority of information that we need. But there may be an element that we can collect directly from the delegates. And it's extremely powerful if you are able to do that, because not only does it then send the message to the delegates that you are really interested in sustainability, it can give you the opportunity to market the event as carbon neutral, but it equally just gives you more detailed information that makes your footprint, your measurement even more accurate. So we'll take all of that discussion with you and give you an overview of the calculation that's in there. The calculator is validated by our partner Carbon Footprint, and that's really critical because you have to know that this is reliable. It's not something that we've pulled out of the air. This is validated. So the calculations and conversions come from the greenhouse gas emissions report and DEFRA. So it's all government sources. So you know when you're talking about it that you can talk confidently in terms of what we've pulled together. And the calculator will think about everything, and I mean everything. So we'll think about your delegates' travel, and again, we'll work with you with your TMC to make sure there's no doubling up of calculations. But the calculator will take into account if anyone decides to car share. It'll think about any little taxi journeys here and there. It'll pick up absolutely everything in terms of that travel footprint. It will think about your event space and how your event space is being powered, how long you're using it for, how many different venues and what the size of that is. It will think about all the hospitality. It'll wonder if you're having canopies. It'll think about absolutely everything to do with your event, all the way through to, are you giving out trophies? Are you using plastic badges? Absolutely everything. And it will come up with your calculation. So once you've got your calculation, as I mentioned before, its average is about 20 tonnes in the UK. So say we work with 20 tonnes. What we'll then do for you is we'll create a whole report based around things you could change. and we'll substantiate that for you. So for example, if you've chosen to have red meat as your main course, we could give you some suggestion around, if you were to move to even white meat or even better plant-based, then this is the difference it will make. Your delegates are perhaps thinking about flying. If they were to come by train, this is the difference it would make. So there will be a percentage of savings that you can present to say, actually, if we do things differently, we could reduce our footprint by this. And that's really important, because if we're doing this with you and you're planning ahead and you're thinking about an event that's, you know, in the planning now, but not until next year, you've got that golden opportunity for intervention. And intervention is the bit that changes behaviours. It does make people start to think differently about what they're doing. At the end of it, so you mean your event might not be for another 12 months. At the end of it, we'll come back and gather all your final details, all of the information around what actually happened, you know, what your delegate chose in terms of tea, coffee, and everything else, and we'll give you your final footprint. And that footprint is the one that you can say, do you know what, we made a difference. We actually reduced it. We knocked 5 tons from this, or we've still got a way to go, but we're actually on that road to net zero. And then you can use that. So if you've already got an offset program in place, then you can take that back to your sustainability team and say, here's the great behaviours we've encouraged, but we still have this bit of carbon to deal with. Can we offset, please? Or if that isn't in place, we've got a portfolio of programs that are there, so that you can actually still offset that. So the overall, if you like, of carbon consultancy is there firstly to help you measure, to help you take aim at the things that you can make a difference with, to reduce those areas of carbon output, and to assess for future, and then to offset going forward. So it's completely it's thinking about absolutely everything that you might have in terms of the components of that event, and obviously can be used for multiple events. It's very, very cost effective, and this is really important to us, because the first thing that we're there to do is to change mindsets. That's why we've created this. We do passionately believe in sustainability, so we want to make people think differently, and to change the way that the industry is running events. So it is extremely cost effective. From things that we've already transacted and looked at, and this is only a matter of weeks old, the overall cost is coming in at something like 1 or 2% of your total event cost. So it's not a high investment in terms of giving you that platform to move forward, because as everyone tells you, you can't change what you don't know, and if you're not able to measure it, you just don't know, do you? So how we work it is that if you've got an event, a smaller event for up to 150 delegates, your consultancy fee is £450. And then it goes up in steps from there. And of course, if you were looking at a whole series of events, we would put some bespoke pricing in place for you. And that's set up just to be a consultancy fee. So as I say, you may already have offset in place, and you won't require us to get involved in the offset side of things. If you do need to think about offsetting, then there's an additional cost that we can quote to you in terms of how the offsetting can come together. Offsetting, I'll cover this off briefly for you, just to sort of set the scene, because most of the time people think about offsetting and you think about trees, and we all love good tree planting, and it's great, and it is a great thing to do. But when you plant a tree, it will take probably 40 years, depending on the type of tree, to actually absorb the carbon. And so tree planting is a nice bonus to do, but it's not actually giving you that neutral status or that offset instantly. Instead, what you actually do is when you buy carbon credits, you're compensating, that's already happened. The carbon reduction has already happened. The savings have happened in that business, and you're buying the credits that have helped to fund that saving and to fund that saving going forward. So usually the projects are not in the UK, and they are global, but there will be a partnership that says, let's plant a tree, because that's what people's perception is around it. So it works at both ends, if you like. So the portfolio that we tend to work with is more global, and it's things like replacing open fires with cook stoves, because you're reducing that carbon output from there, or protecting reforestation, those sorts of things. What's really important is that carbon offsetting, that you go to a genuine portfolio and you know that it's a genuine portfolio and it's at the verified carbon standard. That's got to be the case, because otherwise that's where the minefield comes from. One of the things that I would say about how we work with carbon, our carbon offsetting program, is that it's at a fixed price. A lot of this, because it's so prevalent with COP26, with so much going on in the market, and the price of offsetting is varying tremendously, and that is actually getting to be a little bit out of hand. But we've a fixed price, and that price is there at £9.50 a tonne. It's very, very good value. I've seen quotes of up to 20 plus a tonne, which is crazy sort of money. So you've got the verified standard you have to think about, but you've also got to think the cost too. So the whole piece can be done from start to finish, from the moment your delegate walks out the door to the moment that your event is finished. You can think about carbon all along the way, and you can think about the expertise, the advice, the knowledge, and the sustainable suppliers that we can potentially bring into the mix with you, if that's something that you're quite passionate about. That's some examples of the portfolios that we work with. As I say, tend to be overseas, but there will be some partnership where trees could be planted in the UK, because that's the perception of how things work in the sort of offsetting world. And then just to give you a little bit of the scary facts, the things that make you go, oh, this is important, and the things that will maybe make people listen to you when you're banging your green drum like me, hopefully. There's a couple there that I really like. The bottom one is that before COVID, there was about 1.3 million business events taking place in the UK. So that's everything that we do to bring people together, with this average of 20 tonnes. So then we're starting to talk about 26 million tonnes of carbon. That's just phenomenal. Going back to the point that you and I need to be 3 tonnes each every year, it all starts to stack up. The other one, which is mind-blowing, is the good old cotton canvas tote bag. So we all think that we're doing wonderful things when we provide this sustainable bag that we can use and use and use again. But actually, we'd probably have to use it about 7,000 times just to equate to that one single use plastic bag. So there is a lot of myth and mythology around sustainability, and I think that's where you have to know that you're going to a trusted source and trusted information to actually get to what you're hoping to achieve. And as I say, hopefully Carbon Consultancy is about, first of all, creating awareness, making people think differently, and then ultimately reducing that footprint. So as you can see, quite passionate about it all, folks. Could talk and talk and talk to you about it for some time, but would love to hear your feedback and answer any questions that you have along the way.
Fantastic, Pauline. Thank you so much. I think that is that cotton canvas bag has just like taken me by surprise, because I've got a car boot full of them and I'm like, oh my God. But no, I think it's made me think. Even we've got our awards night coming up on the 5th of November, and I'm literally just, the menu that we've chosen just slammed in my head straight away, and I was thinking, oh my God, like you just instantly think about things that you don't think about necessarily when you organize an event. You think, you want everybody to have the best possible, but then at the same time, it's when you feel passionately about something, it's about making sure that you can share that passion with everybody, because we do all feel passionate about it. I think we do all want to make an impact, and we do really want to make a difference. And I think a lot of you, I could see a lot of you nodding your head on the call and agreeing as well. What did you think? Has anyone got anything they'd like to add? Yeah, I think yeah, like I say, Paul, I think it's a really good opportunity for us to really take a step back and have a think about it. I think it's a fantastic service, and I think it's definitely something that we can all consider moving forward. Would you be able to share those slides with us afterwards?
Yeah, very happily, very happily. It is, as you say, I think it's just starting to think that little bit differently, because events, you do feel that you should do all these things, and we have been so disposable. An average event, the wastage is about 20 to 30% just in food waste alone. Well, we work with people like UK Harvest, and UK Harvest will actually take that food away and redistribute it. and make sure that it goes to homeless shelters and people that actually want to or are able to make use of that. And it's all those little bits that it is, as I say, it is okay to think, well, we have to run out of things eventually, because we've got 20 delegates, so we should cater for 20 delegates. We shouldn't cater for the what ifs. We should start changing those sort of mindsets that little bit more. And I think it is just about talking about it. First and foremost, as I say, we want to talk about it because we want to challenge behaviours. And I mean, I'm a mum of 2 teenagers, and those teenagers, they're just not tolerant of destroying the planet. They're all on the mindset. They're already there with it. You know, so it's the bit in between that we've got to educate that little bit more, I think, and change the way that we do things there. And that's the bit, as I say, when we start talking about it, at least that conversation has started.
100%. I mean, I was going to say, Justine, I was going to bring you in, Justine, just say I'm really interested from your perspective, because obviously you're part of the university and you've got such huge capacities and many different types of venues. Is it something that people are really asking you about at the moment now?
Yeah,
as well?
Absolutely. I totally agree with Pauline. Now delegates and organisers are asking about, what have you got in place for sustainability? So again, we've got accreditations and some of the ones that Pauline did mention. But just listening to that, and I think we need to be sharing this information more, because even for me, it's starting to make me think. Our menus that we're giving out, and you just mentioned it, Dan, about the choices that you make. Well, actually, if we're not telling delegates about this, so perhaps we need to be offering a carbon efficient menu, rather than as well as offering the others, because we can't change what people are doing. But actually, if they then see what savings that can be if they choose this menu, and let's be honest, sometimes the plant-based options that we give are more tastier than the normal ones. So actually, if we gave them an option to do that, then wow, that's just one change that we can be making. But yeah, we're really hot on it, being part of the university, like you mentioned, Dan. So yeah, it's something I'm very passionate about as well. So it was really great to see that, Pauline. Thank you.
Thank you. I've had exciting conversations with people thinking about having carbon budgets. That gets me really excited, because it's like, don't just work with money, work with a carbon budget, and start to really think differently. So change is coming, it's happening, and I think we just need to keep the energy with it. So thank you. I've thoroughly enjoyed having the chance to tell you about it. So thanks again, Dan.
No, thank you so much. And again, I think one of the other big things that you hit on there as well, Pauline, is travel and how substantial that is. We do want to get back to events, but even I'm jumping in a car a lot more, and I'm thinking, God, I'm driving so much more than I really want to. And I'm thinking, how can I be more efficient with that? And trying to look at electric vehicles, etc. I think it's just started to fire into the conversation that we all really needed, really. So no, congratulations to you all on developing such a fantastic tool, and I hope to hear how anyone might get on using it. So thank you so much, Pauline. And Justine, obviously it's wonderful to welcome you. Thank you so much as well for joining us today. I spoke to Justine on the phone when I knew that we were going to put this session together. I just thought this fits in really nicely while we're on the topic of events, because Warwick University are very much leading the way. They always tend to lead the way with a lot of their technology and the things that they're doing. And I think this was something that was of interest. So tell us a little bit more about your return on investment calculator, lovely.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for your kind words, as always, Daniel. Lovely to see some of you, and thanks for joining the call today. So Warwick Conferences are part of the University of Warwick, and we have a range of, we've got 3 all year round venues, and then we have the bigger facilities that we get back for Easter and summer vacation. So basically, we devised a tool to check your ROI. So basically, everybody's talking about ROI at the end of event. What did you get? Was it good to do this training, learning, etc.? But nobody really have got any statistics. So the tool has been created with the American ROI Institute, and we developed this back in 2019, and we're just about to launch it before the pandemic happened, and then thought, we need to sit tight for some while. So we launched it about 3 months ago now. And it's basically to be used at the planning stages of your event. So rather than looking at it at the end of your event when you can't change anything, actually let's look at this at the beginning of the event. So we did lots of research, into this to see what people are looking for. And we've devised a tool that basically is on our website. It's a free service at the moment, so you can go on and use that. And Daniel's going to share a link with you anyway, but I'm going to share my screen now and just go through what it's all about. Okay. So, as I said, yeah, it's available from our website. This is just a little bit about explaining about the tool. But what I think I'll do, because I'm conscious of everybody's time, is just go through the 8 multiple choice questions on here. If you've got any questions, then put them in the chat box. Otherwise, we can answer them at the end. So you should go onto the web page here, and you just literally start the ROI estimator here. So the questions flow really. So the first one is about offsite facilities, and then you've got choices. There are 5 choices of what you want to make. So at the beginning of the program, you might look at doing your training online. Well, it's more beneficial if you do training face to face, and obviously now with events coming back face to face, everybody wants to be out, you know, seeing each other. Obviously learn more from each other when you're face to face rather than doing it online. And again, if you've got something like online, you might tend to go on, do a little bit of training, come off, go back on. But actually when you're face to face, you're solely concentrated on that. You can't be looking at your emails from work. So the ROI tool says that if you're looking at a higher percentage of people face to face, then you're gonna get a higher ROI at the end of it. This exercise, I'm actually going to pick some of the lower ratings so that at the end of it, you can see where you can then go back and change some of them in order to get a better ROI. So for this one, I'm just going to select number 2. So I won't read all the questions out because again, you can go in and use this yourself. So I'm just going to select 2 and then you go on to the next question. Direct reports is all about how many direct reports the people that are attending the training have. So again, if you've got a higher percentage direct reports for the person that's attended the training, obviously that's going to be shared back in the workplace again. So this again gives you a higher ROI. So again, I'm going to just go 2 here to say 1 to 5 on this occasion. Business alignment. So business alignment is very much about the objective that you've already set within your company. So as we know, everybody's got objectives, but actually when you're planning your training, do you actually look at those objectives and make sure that they're actually within that training so that you're getting your ROI at the end? So again, there's questions there to look at if you've looked at them or if you haven't at all, or they're a really important factor. So particularly on KPIs that your staff are going to be looking at moving forward. So I'm just going to go on number 3 for here. Appropriate solution is all about to improve those objectives. So it's about the pre-communication that you're doing with the delegates. So how many events have you gone on for training and you actually don't know what the program is about you only find out when you're actually getting to the event. So this is about getting your delegates engagement first and asking the right questions so that the training is appropriate for them, it's more impactful, and again, then you're going to take it back into the workplace again. So I'm going to select number 2 for this one. So focus on success is about setting objectives for the delegates. So making sure that you've got the right people in the training at the right time. Again, they can be very specific to the objectives, or it may be that there was no objectives actually set for this program at all. I'm going to just select 2. And then appropriate audience. This is about identifying the right people for the training. So how many times would you go on a training program and it's not actually relevant for you at all? So this will go back to knowing things like PDRs that you have, you know, to make sure that you're giving the right information to your employer about what skill sets that you need. And then obviously then the company taking them into that training and making sure that those appropriate people are there for that particular training. Because again, when it then goes back into the workplace, you're going to get a better success rate coming back from that. So I'm going to select number 3 for this one. There's only a couple more to go. So perceived value. This is about do the delegates perceive the value of going on this training? So you can do pre-questionnaires on this part where you might, you know, put out a topic and then you've obviously got the delegates coming back saying, yeah, I'm really interested in this, or I'm not. And then you're knowing, you know, what the value is going to be coming out of that training, and then making it relevant with everything we've just discussed, you know, in terms of objective, etc. So again, you know, you might be looking at, you know, between 30 to 90% of delegates having perceived value from this. And we're just going to go for 3 here. And then lastly, management support. So again, making sure that you've got your manager's support if you're going on a program. Because again, what's the point of you doing training, coming back in the workplace, and then nothing's ever done about it? And you come back in and you're busy doing what you're doing. Actually, you know, in things like, you know, your PDRs, it's important that your manager is talking about them still and making sure that whatever you've learned is then obviously brought back into the job role that you're doing. I'm just going to go one on here. And then basically then you just submit your results from here. Now I'm just going to put in my details. Now this is where we capture data. The reason that we're capturing it so that we can then have conversations with you about the ROI tool. And if you are more interested, you can actually tick the box here to say that you're happy for us to contact you. If you don't want to, then obviously don't do that, and then we won't contact you with regards to this. I've obviously got to say I'm not a robot, which I'm hoping it'll tick. Yeah, that's good. And now get my results. Okay, so as you can see, and I mentioned at the beginning that I was going to do it so that the scoring was low. So I'm only at 28%. So actually, all that I put in for there, this isn't really going to get some return on investment on that training. So I might as well either not do the training, or actually the tool lets you go back and look at the points that you need to go back in and change. So in blue, it highlights the parts, so the off-site facilities. You go back in and then it's actually giving you the indication that actually don't do it online. Make sure that you're doing it face-to-face, because you're going to get a better score with that. Direct reports, again, was one where, you know, a lot of these delegates didn't have direct reports, so it's not going to be shared as much. So actually you might want to look at people that've got more direct reports. And I won't go through them all, but then you can just go back into each of them and then you can submit your answers in, but it just gives you more thinking onto what you want to get involved within that training that you're doing. And it gives you a little bit spill about results. And then these are some of the I was going to say ugly mugs at Warwick Conferences. That if you do want to get in touch with the conference team at Warwick, then obviously we're here to help and support you. But as I said, it's a free tool at the moment. We're just pushing it out, letting everybody know aware of it. It's the first tool that's out there with regards to ROI. And it's a big topic that's always being discussed, obviously, on your training and your events. So if you've got any questions, please let me know.
Oh, thank you, Justine. And do you know what? It's just been, yeah, Justine, I will, Paula will share the link after the meeting for sure. I'll make sure that you get all of that. I would like to know a bit more from Pauline about how long the data collection takes, i.e. if the event is in a month's time, that would be enough time, or does it take longer?
So that's really nicely and easily set up. You'll be pleased to hear. So we've literally just created a data capture, which is in the sense of a form really, and it's online. So we just send you out a link and we'll make you aware of all the things that you might need to have to hand to actually populate that link. But essentially, if you're only a month away, you've probably got your running order from the venue. So you've probably got your BEO or function sheets, as I would have called them back in the day. And the majority of information that you'll need is going to be there. If you want us to collect the travel data, again, that's super easy. There's a link that we can send out to the delegates. It takes them about 2 or 3 minutes to complete, and it literally just says, where will you be staying overnight, how will you be getting there, and what type of menu are you going to choose. And we're getting a great response to it. We had an event launch on Monday, and the organizer sent the link out. Now there's just over 500 people attending that event, and we've already had 150 delegates respond. Which is quite impressive, because, you know, we get quite a lot of information afterwards at times, don't we? And we don't always have the appetite to respond. But it does literally take 2-3 minutes, and they've come back and given us their travel. So from an organiser's perspective at the moment, most of the events that we've started working on with the calculator, bearing in mind, as I say, only a few weeks old, they're for next month. So it is absolutely doable, and collecting the data is doable. We would like to probably have a few days to analyse the results. In an ideal world, we'd like a week to analyse the results so we can give you quite a comprehensive report. But if timelines are tight, you know, there's always flexibility in that. So it's doable. A month is definitely doable.
Fantastic, thank you. And I think just going back to what you were talking about, Justine, with the, I think as well, for a lot of the people that are on our call today, when the CEO or the exec board or somebody comes in and says, right, we want to do this event, actually all of these questions that you've covered today, Justine and Pauline, are great to go back and say, well, actually, okay, what about, can you answer some of these? Who do you want to be there? Why do they need, shouldn't we be thinking about inviting those people? Do you think that's going to be, when we do our conference, for example, we've seen for the Learning and Development Conference for the PA Forum, if people have the agenda in advance, they can pick, and it's online, they can pick which sessions they want to go to, but never in a million years, when you're at a live event, would you ever walk out because that particular speaker's topic might not be something that you're interested in. So I find that really interesting because it does make you think about actually the content of each of the sessions throughout the day and who that's applicable to and whether actually people are going to add value. How many times have we all in this room sat in a conference and thought, why am I here? What am I actually getting from this? And this doesn't actually, I don't actually know what this is about or how it could actually impact my role or how I could make a contribution or difference to the business. So I find it fascinating. So I just want to say a huge thank you to you both for joining us today. If anyone has any other questions, what I will be doing is I'll send out an email. I'll copy Pauline and Justine into that for you. They'd love to hear from you if you've got any feedback or if you want any more information. I'll send out a copy of the slides. We'll send the link out to Justine's tool as well. And we'll also send out a copy of this recording just so you've got that if you want to watch it back as well. Fantastic. So thank you all so much for joining us. Just to let you know, we've got our session on resilience tomorrow with the healthy employee. So if you are joining us, please join. That's going to be tomorrow afternoon. Next week, we've got our breakfast seminar at the Exchange in Birmingham, which is how to network when you hate small talk, with the wonderful Esther Stanhope, who actually I found through Conference Care's conference last year. She's fantastic. And we will be visiting the Conference and Hospitality Show at the ICC as part of our VIP group. They've got free lunch included for us. So if anybody wants to join our group and come and network with some of the suppliers at the ICC next week, it'll be great to see you. But in the meantime, have a wonderful week, everybody. And we look forward to seeing you all soon. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you. Thanks, Dan.
Take care.
Bye.